Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Thursday, November 17th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Maryland game is in 2 days, the game against Michigan in 9 days. We are going to be talking today about the Ohio State defense, and we're going to be doing it with the help of Ohio State defensive coordinator Jim Knowles. He had his typical Tuesday press conference, and there was a lot of interesting stuff to come out of that, so you're going to be hearing directly from Knowles on all of that stuff today. Let's start with safety blitzes. That's something he talked about last week, the fact that the Buckeyes hadn't used a lot of them, hadn't really worked a lot of those into the repertoire yet this fall. And then Saturday against Indiana, you saw a bunch of them. Lathan Ransom made some big plays off of those, as well as some other guys. So what do those bring to the defense when you start mixing those in with all the other stuff they've been doing this fall?
It allows our safeties, to be aggressive. I mean, they're doing a good job of figuring out the plays and where they fit. I just think it allows us to play offense on defense more. Guys are getting more comfortable with the system. That's a part of it, and we're going to continue down that path.
Speaking of things that the Buckeyes have started using more, defensive tackle Ty Hamilton has been getting more reps over the last couple weeks. They saw him more in rundowns against Northwestern and then more in the passing type of plays against Indiana. So what has Jim Knowles seen that has made him want to play Ty Hamilton in a much bigger role now?
Ty's like a cold-blooded gentleman, I guess I would say. And that you like quiet, good smile, but he's just really tough inside, and he's athletic. And I've seen him use his hands and get off blocks, and make plays. So not only hold point, but I've seen his hand skills really developing, and he's earned more playing time.
Ty Hamilton is not the only guy earning a bigger role in the middle of the defensive line this year. Taron Vincent has done that as well. Now, Vincent's been around for a while and just hasn't been able to stay healthy. The technique and the ability has always been there. He just hasn't been able to stay on the field. This year, he has. So what has Knowles seen out of Taron Vincent this year that has given him a bigger role on the team?
Yeah, Taron, very similar. It's one thing to hold the point, but to have the athleticism to then, what you saw Taron do also in the game, and you've seen him do it, to disengage from the block and make tackles. That's like the next step. And so I think both of those guys are doing really good things in that area, and you're seeing that.
One of the guys who has really been an impact player on the interior of that defensive line is Mike Hall, but you haven't seen him a whole heck of a lot the last few weeks. Has he been on a pitch count? Are they just saving him for bigger games, or is Ty Hamilton really just taking those reps away from Mike Hall?
Yeah, Ty's played extremely well, so he deserves that opportunity, but to compare him to what's happening with Mike is wrong, because Mike has really battled injuries. So it's not so much a question of saving him. It's just kind of week to week how Mike is feeling and what he can do. So what he can do on a given Saturday is what he can do. He'll give us everything he has, but he's really fought through some things.
If you have ever heard a football coach talk, whether NFL or college or high school or Pee-wee, they always talk about the fact that games are won in the trenches. You got to have a strong offensive line. You got to have a strong defensive line. How important is it to have a strong interior defensive line? We talked earlier about Taron Vincent and Ty Hamilton, the roles that those guys have brought. How important is it to have that whole interior defensive line be as solid as they've been for the Buckeyes this year?
I think I said it last week. There's nothing sexy about it. It is just hard work. It's hard work, and it's the way football was initially created. Those battles at the line of scrimmage, and it's morphed a lot since then. But it still takes place, and you still need your tough guys to be tough, and that's where we've gotten such great play out of our tackles, and it's going to be key as we move forward.
Having talent like that on defense has got to make Jim Knowles' job a lot easier. So how much does that free him up as a coordinator to potentially be able to do a bunch of different stuff?
Yeah, it gives you a lot of flexibility, because if you're not right, try to be right all the time, but if you can't be right, you know that, and you're releasing people, from maybe their run responsibility because you have some tackles that can just whip people and make plays. That helps a lot in play calling.
Ohio State linebacker Tommy Eichenberg has absolutely been one of the breakout stars this season, but on Saturday, he was playing against Indiana with one of his hands in a cast. Now, Eichenberg's not going to complain about that, but is that something that has had an impact on what he can and can't do on the field?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the game, but, the toughest guys don't let it limit them, and he's one of them, So you try not to talk about it. You try not to acknowledge it because what's the plan, right? I mean, it's just a couple things you can do with tackling that I have talked to him about, going lower, roll tackling, using more of a single leg with the torque and sliding your arm through the leg. I mean, there are a couple things you can talk about, but for the most part, you just play through it, and Tommy's great about it.
We talked on yesterday's show about all the injuries that Ohio State has had at running back, and they've had a bunch of injuries in the secondary as well this season. But now they're starting to get those secondary guys back. So getting Cam Brown back, getting Jordan Hancock back last weekend against Indiana, how big of a lift does that bring to the defense?
It's a big lift. Those are guys we had planned to be with us from the start, so it's good to have them back. And I thought they played well. You saw Cam on a couple 50-50 balls deep, which is that's a big deal. Some plays that maybe we didn't make earlier in the year. It was good to see him make those plays, and that does lift up the defense, and it breeds confidence.
Getting all of those injured players back on the defense, it's finally starting to happen. You're starting to see all the secondary guys back. They're starting to get all the defensive linemen back that have been banged up. So Maryland might actually be the first chance to see the defense operating with everyone there. So is that something that Jim Knowles is excited about?
I mean, it's a great point and valid, but I just don't think that way. I just think that's a luxury, because this is big time college football, and if you're going to be really good as a defense guy, guys have to be able to come in and out and have depth. So. And sometimes when I was young, you'd go through plans where you might plan, okay, I got these guys back now and I can do this, and then you're out of that on the first play of the game. So really it's just business as usual. It's nice. It's a good thing, but we just got to keep doing what we're doing.
Knowles and his defense are one of the top units in the country, depending on the metric you want to look at, but the offense that they have to go up against every day in practice is arguably the best. And if it's not number one, it's number two in most categories. So going up against that receiving core in practice, what is that like? What is that like on the whole? And especially, what's it like trying to deal with Marvin Harrison in practice every day?
As a group, extremely hardworking and talented and competitive. I think that whether it's 7-on-7, 1-on-1, I mean, our receivers are always going hard, and that's part of what I'm sure makes them great. And Marvin is just the best I've ever been around. Some of the catches that he makes in practice when they show up in the game, we see it every day. Plus he's from a great high school. Yeah.
So how do you defend a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., who seems to catch everything and be largely uncoverable?
You have to try to double him, or you have to try to put. But I mean, he's made catches against us in practice, in a bracket. So really, you have to change it up, and because if he knows what you're doing and CJ knows what you're doing, they're going to make plays.
There are 10 games down and only 2 to go in Ohio State's regular season, so now we're far enough along that it's time to start doing some looks back and analysis on how certain guys are playing. Knowles was asked about Jack Sawyer, his second-year player, how he's taken on the role that they also call Jack in the defense. You're going to hear that, and then you're going to hear a quick follow-up from Bill Landis.
Yeah, good. He's he's embraced it. I keep encouraging him to even be more reckless. I think that's part of the position where he can grow, we can grow, and it's you may make some mistakes, but I want to see him be more reckless. Jack wants to do the right thing, and he's great team guy. I got to try to find more ways just to cut him loose, and just let him play free.
You sense him being cautious? Is that
Not cautious. No, he just sometimes the more you pile on, this is what the debate always is for me. The more you pile on a guy, and I can do that with that position. Like go here against this set, go here against this set, cover this guard in this set. You know what I mean? Now it's not cautious, it's thinking. And if a guy is thinking too much, he can't play free. So that's on me. But he's doing a good job. I got to just do more to really cut him loose.
Now, the idea of recklessness is kind of interesting there, because normally on defense, you want to have to stay in your gap and do your job and not try and do someone else's job. That's kind of the normal thinking. So is it hard to have 10 guys on defense doing that at a time, and then Jack Sawyer just kind of going reckless and going crazy everywhere?
Absolutely. Yeah, because you do spend a lot of time on gap responsibility, defensive responsibility, being sound in your approach, and we have that in some of our other things. So, yeah, there is a tipping point, which I think has taken some time over the years that I've used it to where they really get it. Where now it's okay. Yeah, all 10 of you other guys, make sure you're sound, because this guy's just going to go tear it up. And I think we're still working towards that point.
The Buckeyes got absolutely gashed last year on the ground and in the air. This year, that rush defense is way, way, way better, and that's something that's going to be a big topic of conversation over the next week or so in the lead up to the Michigan game. They're giving up just over 3 yards per carry against the run right now. So what to Knowles goes into being a great run defense, and where does he think that team is right now?
Obviously, cliche, but it starts up front, right? You have to be able to control the gap you're assigned, whether it's through stunt or base. You got to be able to whip people with your front, and that sets everything else up. After that, it comes to an understanding by really the linebackers and the safeties, and I think you've seen that with the development of Tommy and Steele and Lathan, Ronnie making these plays, that it just comes to an understanding that, okay, this is the defense that we called, this is the play they're running, where's the ball going to end up? How do these two parts fit together? And then there's always, because it's defense, right? You really need like 14 guys to defend everything, but so there's always going to be what I call that escape hatch, and it's now the linebackers and safeties know exactly where that escape hatch is going to be, and that allows you to play fast. And to me, that's the key to being a great run defense.
Not to take anything away from the Ohio State defense, they have been very good this year, but they also haven't been playing great offenses. By one metric, the average national ranking of the teams they've played this year is 93rd. So the next couple weeks, it's going to get the challenge is going to get a little stiffer. Maryland is in the 60s, Michigan is in the 20s, so by some metric. So how confident is Jim Knowles heading into those challenges, knowing that it's going to be a little tougher than it has been in previous weeks?
I'm confident. We're doing all the right things against whoever they line up in front of us. When you say that, yeah, I don't really look at rankings or anything like that truly until the end of the year, right? Because that's the only thing really when you look back and kind of see how you held up against other people. So, you just have to take it week to week with whoever you're playing, and have great habits that turn into a lifestyle, and demeanor and attitude. It's the same thing, no matter who you're playing or what they rank. And if you ever look past somebody because they don't have the right ranking, you're in trouble. So I like our progress. We still have a lot of work to accomplish, but I like what we've done so far, in being ready to be relied upon and counted on when times get tough. I think that's ultimately what you want out of a defense.
Maryland got off to a very hot start this year, and then injuries started to take their toll. They've looked a little ragged the last couple weeks, but what has Jim Knowles seen out of them this year?
Yeah, the quarterback is a really good scrambler and playmaker. Maybe a little banged up. Maybe that's just why they've struggled a little bit. But I think everything flows through him, and he's dangerous. And they have skilled guys at wide receiver and the tight end position. I think the 1-2 targets. So in a spread attack, they're dangerous. I can see why they played well. Maybe recently, they haven't. But when you look at the totality of the season, it gives you reason to believe you better be prepared.
Ohio State played pretty close to a perfect game on defense against Indiana. They had a couple big plays. There was that long pass play that set up the first touchdown, and then, of course, the second touchdown after the muffed punt. But when you play a game where you pretty much lock the other team down for most of the day, and there's just a few big plays that you give up here and there, do those just haunt you when you go back and look at it and think how close you came to really playing a perfect game?
They haunt me a lot. Yeah, I mean, until whenever you move on, you got to move on. Yeah. But they're recorded and etched forever in the they go. We'll be studying the heck out of them in the off season because they go into that explosive play category. So, they actually had 5 explosive plays. So. We say 5 or less undefeated. But they did have 5. And that reverse that they had too, which was, we had plenty of opportunities to make plays on that. So, and then they had a quarterback scramble, I know, which went for like 16, and there was one other one I can't remember. So, yeah, the post. That's right. So take out those 5 plays, and then it was a good game. Yeah, that's exactly. No, I mean everything else was pretty good, but yeah, those explosive plays, we study them, we talk about them, and you try to figure out why they happened, and so they don't happen again. But otherwise, yeah, it was pretty good across the board.
One of the times that Indiana did actually pick up some yards was right after the half. They came out with a little razzle-dazzle with an end around, and then they tried to do a flea flicker on the play after that. What was Jim Knowles' message down to the field as he's looking down from the booth and seeing Indiana kind of throwing the kitchen sink at his defense?
Yeah, no, it's you don't do anything during the series except, maybe adjust the calls as you get the feel for it. But, credit to them for the first one. Great job by us on the second one, but I think it was Ronnie, right? Kept his eyes on his man the whole way because those plays are tough. As the play gets extended and you got guys who are leaking out and double reverse, those are tough and really a challenge of your discipline, and Ronnie did a good job.
Speaking of throwing a lot of stuff at someone, how much can you throw at someone like Lathan Ransom? He's now in his 3rd year, and it seems like he's kind of got a mastery of just about everything they're trying to get him to do. So can you throw a lot of stuff at a player like Lathan Ransom?
He's a football guy, right? So he can get what you're talking about and understand it and execute it, right? So you can ask him to do some things, just talking about something today. I was in with we'll just get Lathan to do this against this play, right? I mean, so you start to put more on him, as you see things develop, and you say, well, if I can just take this one guy, I can fix this problem, and he is that kind of guy. But it's still my job to make sure he plays fast. So I mean, That's what coaches have to remember is maybe a little thing to me as a coach, but everything you put on a kid kind of can pile up and then lead to them not being as aggressive as fast. But he is in my mind as a guy who can handle a lot of things. I just got to be careful how much I put on him.
Well, again, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Jim Knowles is always a really fun person to talk to. Always has some good and insight and thoughts and views on some different stuff. A little different from what you'd expect to maybe hear from a coach at times. So he is always someone that I enjoy listening to. I hope you guys do as well. We will have much more coming up this week as the Buckeyes get ready to head down to Maryland for their penultimate game of the regular season. That game will kick off at 3:30 on Saturday. We will have full pregame coverage live from Maryland on Saturday morning. And then, of course, our usual postgame coverage at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. You will want to make sure you are subscribed to that YouTube channel. Got a lot of interesting stuff. And, of course, the end of the Maryland game means, guess what? It's the start of Michigan week. So I'm going to guess we're going to be talking a little bit about Michigan on that show as well. So hope you guys enjoyed that. We will make sure you have plenty more stuff to listen to and watch over the next week or so. So make sure you are subscribed to all of our podcasts. Just search Buckeye Huddle on whatever podcast platform you like, and subscribe to all those shows because we're going to have a ton of content heading into Michigan week. I know a lot of you guys are traveling. I know a lot of you guys are just going to be looking to make the week go a little bit faster in the lead up to that Michigan game. We're going to do our very best to make that happen for you. So you just have to subscribe to our podcast on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. Just search Buckeye Huddle. Leave us a 5-star rating and review as a little thank you. That's a nice thing you can do. And then also youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Make sure you're subscribed there as well. Ring that bell so you get notified every time we post a new show. That way you will never miss a thing. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.